I've got me a whole basket of these things, whatever these things are. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, May the 23rd, 2022, vlog number 264, and it is day 804 of COVID. So, what have I been up to this week? Well, a lot of different things. Let me switch over and show you. Okay, so I got this completed. This was the Modern Curves quilt. It's actually more of a wall hanging size than quilt size. And basically it was a project to practice and to learn how to sew curves. And I was doing this through my online membership site called The Quilter's Way. And I did something a little different than what most people do when it comes to sewing curves. These are actually Drunkard's Path blocks. And I used my Accuquilt because I have a 7-inch Drunkard's Path die that will cut these blocks. But the pattern called for 6.5-inch unfinished blocks. So you just can't cut something like this down, square it up, because your inner circle part with the background may not come out proportional. So I found a way to do this. And don't ask me what the mathematics are behind it, but I found a way to cut down the block that keeps everything proportional. And I actually show you that. I did a tutorial and put it up as a Idiot Quilter Presents a demonstration during late last week. And it's up there now for you to see, and there's a link to it in the show notes below if you're interested in doing that kind of thing. I'm not going to explain the method here in any detail because, you know, this vlog is more for my general audience, but I will talk more about that if you're interested in tomorrow's Idiot Quilter episode. And I thought I'd show you this. This is the block of the month so far that I've been working on. Donna from Ultimate Sewing, the hostess with the mostest, has been teaching this class, and we're doing it all on Zoom, which I really enjoy. And yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it? There are a lot of different fabrics in this design. I think there are like 12 or 13, something like that. A lot of cutting as well. And at this point, this is after 3 months. There's still many months to go before we get all the blocks done, but these are the ones I have done to date, and I thought I'd lay it out on my my design board or wall to see how it's shaping up, and it's coming along nicely. As I said, it's a very, very busy quilt. That was my choice. You know me, go bold or go home in colors. But I'm glad that I did lay it out because there was one set of blocks that I'd made a little mistake on. I had put one of the rows on in the wrong spot. And that's this one up here at the top. I fixed it. It wasn't a hard fix. But if I hadn't done that, it would have caused me probably no end of grief in this quilt. This quilt is a challenge. And even though I have figured out what I was doing wrong when it came to the 1/4-inch foot business, which I discussed in more detail a week or so ago, my blocks are still not coming out exactly the way that the size that is suggested, or not suggested, is told, is written about. I'm having trouble with my words today, okay, which are described in the pattern. Now, I think part of that problem could be that some of the pieces that go in some of these blocks are cut in 1/8 of an inch. And our instructor told us to round up, which that is a common thing to do when it comes to cutting something like a block or square that has to be 2 7/8 inches or 2 3/8 inches, rounded up to, you know, 2.5 or 3, and then you can trim it down. Well, that's what I've been doing. And I think that is what's causing me some grief for some reason. I don't know what it is. It could be because you put these pieces together to make half square triangles, and I don't know. I just don't know. So there's going to be some fudging when it comes to putting this quilt together. I can see that now. But it's coming along. I'm not giving up on it. And it's going to be a few months yet before, it actually gets to the point where I can assemble all the blocks. But I thought I'd show it to you anyways. Okay, so that's what I've been up to. And I have been working on some 3D prints as well. I'm going to talk about those in a few minutes. But first, YouTube channel of the week. This is for those of you that are into 3D printing. And one of the banes of our existence as 3D printers is getting our 3D printers leveled. Now, for those of you that don't have a 3D printer, and for that matter, may not even be interested in this kind of thing, so you may want to skip ahead for this. The thing that gets us most is leveling our bed. And that's the platform that your prints are printed on. And if it is not level, you can have all kinds of problems. And although there are some electronic devices, add-ons you can get for your 3D printer that are supposed to help you with the leveling process, the reviews are mixed about those items as to how they work. And so I have never invested in one. I have just gotten to the point now where I'm pretty good at leveling my bed using the most common method that people use, and that's a little piece of paper that you slide underneath the nozzle and the bed plate, and you do some adjustment on some dials that raise your platform up or bring it down. And yeah, it's still a little bit hit and miss, but I've gotten good at it over the last year or so that I've had the 3D printers. However, there is another new device, and I could tell you this, if it had been available on Amazon.ca, well, actually, I think it was available on Amazon.ca, but the price was a heck of a lot more than it was on Amazon.com. Now, some of you are going to say, because I still get this, people who live outside of Canada, especially people who live in the United States, don't seem to grasp the concept of exchange rates on money. I've had so many people say to me, well, it's cheaper here in the States. Why don't you buy it here? Yeah, it is cheaper in American money, but not in Canadian money. And that's the case with this little device that I'm about to show you the video about. I think it's about $24 American on Amazon.com. On Amazon.ca, it's about $37 or $38 Canadian. So, that's how it works across border shopping. And Amazon, basically, when it's being supplied to them, it's coming from an American company. So Amazon changes the price for our country, and that makes it more. So I didn't buy one because I have a feeling from what I watched, for me, it wouldn't be of any advantage. But maybe for somebody else, especially those who are just getting into 3D printing, this might be something you'll want to look into. So here's the YouTube segment for the week, talking a little bit about this. Actually, I don't show you the YouTube video itself. I just talk a little bit about this device, which I probably have already done. But I'm going to insert that in here anyways. This week's YouTube segment comes from a YouTube channel that I probably reviewed some time ago, and this is for all of those out there who have a 3D printer, especially for beginner 3D printing enthusiasts. This is on BB3D is the name of the channel, Brian Vines. He does some really excellent reviews and tutorials about 3D printing. They're all very professional, and he's very knowledgeable. And I really trust this individual to tell me the things that I need to know. Well, he just did a video about Chuck Hellebuyck's E-Leveler. And for those of you that have tried to level your 3D printer, especially a Cruelty Ender 3, hard to say 5 times fast, this might be a little device you'd be interested in. Now, I always level my beds using a sticky note and the paper method in other ways. And yes, that does take a certain amount of practice and skill to get it just right, but I'm very comfortable with doing that now. But when I first started 3D printing, I was not. And so I wish there had been this device then. This device essentially allows you to level your bed without having to use a piece of paper. It's a little bit more accurate, I think, according to this review. Now, I looked into buying one of these, but unfortunately, it is not available on Amazon.ca. It is available, however, on Amazon.com. And he does suggest, Brian, in his video reviewing this product, that if you're comfortable with leveling your bed with the sticky note method or the paper sheet method, then this may not be something you'll want to invest in. It doesn't look like it's very expensive. It's about $25 US. But do check this video out because I think it is very, very interesting. And you want to know something? Regardless of the fact that I know how to level my beds using a piece of paper, if this had been available on Amazon.ca for Canadians, I probably would have invested in it because it's not that expensive and it might be of help. But you'll have to assess that for yourself. So check out this particular YouTube video, and the link for it's in the show notes below. So the link for that little segment is in the show notes below. There's a link for Stephen and Walter live, and it was a mishmash of all kinds of things, which it usually is, so you might want to check that out. There's an Idiot Quilter, episode 167 is there. The Idiot Quilter Presents. There's an interview with Marie from Marie's Scrappy Creations, which she's a delightful person. You may want to check that out. And just as an aside here, although Marie is a quilter, a sewer, and she loves to do things with scraps, she does more than just sew with scraps. So those of you out there that are into the creative mode, mixed media, things like that, you may want to check out Marie's YouTube channel as well. I have the Idiot Quilter Presents the demo that I talked about earlier about making Drunkard's Path my method. And there's another demo about layering and basting a quilt on a long arm. Now, those of you that don't have long arms may not be interested in that, although I've had a couple of comments that since that video went up where people said they never knew how those worked and found it kind of interesting, even though they don't own a long arm. So if you're curious, that's something you might want to explore. And of course, there is our weekly So Chatty episode 59. And this is something we talked about getting things from the States. And part of the problem with ordering from the States for us in Canada is who it is sent through. American Postal System or UPS or FedEx or one of the other carriers. These all affect the price, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, specifically about UPS, a little bit later in the episode. But right now, let's take a look at what's outside my window. This was the long weekend this weekend, for us here in Canada, the May 2-4 weekend, Victoria Day holiday. In fact, today, as I record this is the Monday of the long weekend. So many places are closed today for the holiday. But you can see outside, this was taken at 7:29 this morning, and the sun's shining. It looks like it's going to be a nice day. Our tree is in full bloom. The grass is green. Yeah, it's lovely out. Current temperature is 9 degrees Celsius. It'll probably warm up as the day goes on. We're still getting some cool days, even though it's the tail end of May, but that's not unusual. The weekend started off being very, very lovely, and then we had something happen. And, well, although the tree looks okay right now, we did have a few branches come down in that tree, but I'm going to talk about that moment of excitement and scariness. Scariness is a word that happened a little bit later on, so stay tuned. So anyways, there's what it's looking like today, and it looks like it may be shaping up to become a really nice day. Okay, so what's pissing me off this week? Well, it's the cost of shipping, which I've already alluded to. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more detail on the Idiot Quilter tomorrow, because it pertains to a fabric order that I placed with an American company. And I do talk about it yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live a little bit too. But essentially it's this. You can find a place online to shop, and this is probably a problem with online shopping, but you always have to pay shipping, right? Now, some places offer you free shipping if it's over a certain dollar amount. But here's the problem we have in this country with shipping. Many of the goods that we want come from the US. Why is that? Well, the US has 10 times the population of Canada. So that means their market is 10 times greater than our market. Thus, they have more variety of things that they can purchase, that Americans can purchase. And, we as Canadians will shop across the border because it is all North America after all. But shopping across the border, when it comes to shipping, presents lots of problems depending on the company you're dealing with. Now, if the retailer sends it by USPS, the United States Postal Service, it's usually a little cheaper than coming by something like FedEx or UPS. However, it's slower, and if you don't want to wait, that might be not an option for you. The other thing is duties and customs, taxes that we have to pay on things that come across the border. Now, supposedly, we have a North American Free Trade Act that if things are manufactured in the United States, as I understand it, it's more complicated than this, but as I understand it, 9 times out of 10, most of those items, if they're manufactured in the United States and we order them here into Canada, we shouldn't have to pay duty. Never seen that work out for most things. Now, yes, some things I've ordered from the States I haven't had to pay any duty on, but that's because the company that sold it have somehow worked into their prices or something. I don't know what they do, but it means that I don't have to pay duty on it. But it's hit and miss. It's really hit and miss. But when it's being delivered by a company like UPS, because they are the absolute worst on so many levels, okay? They are so bad that if I see a company that I'm ordering from is going to ship by UPS, unless it's something I really, really cannot get anywhere else that I really, really want, I will not order it. UPS turns me right off immediately. And why is that? Because they double dip. If it's coming across the border and if there's duty on it, yeah, they collect the duty from you. They also charge you a fee for doing that service, which by my way of thinking, that should all be handled by a government service. It shouldn't be handled by a third party. But, that's how things work in our government. They hire third-party companies to do everything. Our government is lazy. They don't want to deal with these things. So they charge you for picking that up. And then there's additional taxes on the taxes because there's something we have called goods and service tax. And because they're a delivery service, that is taxable as well. So you get hit with another charge. So, long story short, but as an example of this, I ordered some fabric from a small vendor in Michigan. Prices were okay. They had some very unique things that I didn't think I could get readily here. And their shipping didn't seem unreasonable. Problem was, and again, this is something I'll explain in more detail tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter, I didn't realize that they were shipping by UPS. So I placed my order. I think my order was about it came out to about $160 Canadian. Well, it was coming by UPS. Guess what? I get a notice from UPS that in order for me to get my stuff, well, not in order to get it, I had some options. I had to pay the duty and all the other stuff that they were going to charge. That amount came to 60 more Canadian dollars on top of the 160 that I already paid. And let's not forget, the company I ordered from also charged me shipping on top of it all. So, yeah. So my little $160 order is now well over $200 for all of this. Yeah. Is it worth it? No, it is not worth it. If I had known that was going to happen, I would not have ordered. But this was not so much the problem with the vendor as much as it was the problem with the service provider, with the delivery company, UPS. So they do this all the time. They double dip. It was $30-some brokerage fee, they call it. That's the fee for collecting the duty, and the duty was another 20-some odd dollars. Their brokerage fee was actually higher than the duty. And then there was tax on all of that on top of it. Can you say double dip, triple dip, rip off? Yeah. So this is something that people who do not order across the border may not be aware of. And I'm sure vendors in the States are not necessarily completely sure of this, because it's like we don't exist. I mean, I love going to the United States when I used to, way back, and you turn on the TV and you see the weather report, and they have a big map of North America. Yeah, we don't exist. We're this blank space, north of the 49th parallel. And I think that is just a visual representation of what a lot of American companies feel about us. We are too small a market for the Americans to care about. That's one of the problems. So of course they don't know what UPS or any of the other delivery places are charging us, what the additional charges are. So maybe, now some companies have looked into this, like Missouri Star Quilt, I know must have with them. They used to suck when it came to getting something from them. And I ordered from them a couple of times back in the dark ages, and I was not impressed. And I wrote to them about it. But other people must have made them aware too, and they looked into it. And now, yeah, it's really not a problem to order from Missouri Star Quilt Company. So other vendors should really look into this as well, not just take things for granted. And I think that's what the problem is. In general, American retailers consider Canada an extension of the States. We are not. We are not. Things work differently here. And I really think that if a retailer wants to extend their market into our country, into Canada, they need to take these things into consideration. But then again, maybe they don't make enough money to ship things to Canada, so why bother? It's all about the almighty dollar, isn't it? And it certainly is with UPS. So, buyer beware, especially Canadian buyers. Beware of who the retailer deals with when it comes to delivery. So that pisses me off. Okay, so that takes me to some product reviews. I did get another thing. Well, you've seen this before, but this one's a little fancier. If you remember, I ordered some things from Vistaprint. They're a company that does business cards and things like that, and I'm sure you've seen their ads on all over the internet. They're pretty frequent. They're a very good company, in my opinion. I've dealt with their customer service. They have been excellent. And when I dealt with the customer service, I think I mentioned to you that I had a problem with one of the mugs. This mug that has my logo on it. The handle dropped off in the dishwasher. I wrote to them. They sent me a replacement mug, but they also sent me a credit for the 4 mugs I had ordered originally. They gave me back my money. I get to keep the mugs. I thought, wow, I wasn't asking for that. I just, actually, I wasn't asking for anything. I was just making them aware of the fact that I wasn't happy about the mug falling apart. But they were really good. So I had about a $52 credit, okay, at their store. So I thought, well, the money was burning a hole in my pocket. I thought I'd ordered a few more things. So I ordered 2 of these tote bags and they're a zippered tote bag. I gave one to Walter and I've got one. And can you ever have too many tote bags? Apparently not. And I ordered some sticky notes too, just to see what those would be like with this credit. Actually, I had to pay a little bit more for everything, but that was okay. The sticky notes are supposed to arrive sometime this week. These came last week, though. In fact, I was a little worried that maybe something got mixed up with the order, so I wrote to them and said, I got the bag, but I didn't get sticky notes. And they wrote back to me and said, yep, they're on their way. I can't say too much about their customer service because they're right on it. And this is all done through email, through their site, and they're right on it within 24 hours or less. So anyways, those are coming. I'll probably show those next week. And yeah, so I really think it's it's a nice tote bag. It really is. Two-tone color, zippered top to it, and my logo looks good on it. So I got that. And that's about all that's new this week, I think, that I've purchased. So let's see, what's that take me to? So, oh, I did buy something else new. I bought some filament. And I just wanted to show you this picture. So now I'm moving into my 3D corner here. Filament usually comes on plastic reels. This is cardboard. Now this is a company that you've heard me mention before, M3D, Matter 3D, out in BC. They're a relatively new company. I love their filament. Their filament is absolutely excellent. Their customer service is excellent as well. I think I mentioned last week about the little problem I had with their shipping, and they worked that all out for me, and that was great. But they now are starting to put their filament on these cardboard reels because they are trying to be as eco-friendly as they possibly can. So these reels, unlike the plastic reels, are recyclable, and that's a good thing. And they seem to work fine. It takes a little bit of time when you first use one to get used to them because of the feel of it, but that's a very minor thing. But they work well, and it's nice to see that this Canadian company is trying to do their part to keep things out of landfill, and that's great. And by the way, you may say, yeah, but you're still using plastic. This plastic is recyclable. And it's also biodegradable because from what I understand, PLA anyways, is essentially made from cornstarch. Yes, believe it, from cornstarch. Don't know how that happens, but so it is biodegradable. But there are more and more places that are looking into actually recycling bits and pieces of filament that are left over from things like that. It hasn't come to my area yet, but I think there is some of that in other places in Canada and possibly in the United States as well. So I've got some filament. And what else have I been making? Well, this is a box. Everything you see in front of you right now were all printed on my 3D printer. These are templates for rings, for circles, which have a variety of uses. I principally printed these for using when I make bags for rounding corners, but you could use them for other things for, applique or whatever, but you can draw circles with them. And here's what they look like. And these ones that are open in the center will do two sizes of rings or circles. There's a number here that says 6, and this is 4.5. Inside, if you were to draw a circle with the inside part, that's 4.5 inches in diameter. Outside, 6 inches. And the same with these ones. I think this one was 3 inch and 4 inch, 2.5 and 3.5 inch. And then these more solid ones are, as they say, 5 inch, 4 inch, 2 inch, 1 3/4 inch, 1 1/2 inch, 1 inch. There were others I could print too, but these are principally the ones I think I'll use the most. And if I need other sizes, I can do those. In fact, I can make them myself because these two right here, I made myself. These ones down here were part of the grouping that I downloaded from a site called Thingiverse. That's where I get a lot of my, what they call models. So yeah, these are what I would call practical prints, meaning you can use these. They're just not a little ornament thing to look at. These are very practical. So what else am I doing with the 3D printer right now? Well, I am making some, well, it's experimental at this point. I found a design for creating these little racks that mount on your wall that will hold your filaments of 3D, of 3D filament. Yeah, I said that already. I'm going to see how those work out. I have an idea. I've printed 2. They finished printing last night, so I've just took them off the printer before I started doing this today. And I'm going to mount them and try them out and see how this works out. I think they'll look really great behind, you know, a whole row of these things with my rolls of filament on them, on the wall behind my 3D printers. Also, it will give me more space in my cupboards above, because those cupboards are full. I can't get any more filament in them. I collect filament like I collect fabric, kind of a thing. So anyways, that's all about 3D printing. So that takes me to turn the page over. Blasts from the past. Okay, this is my ongoing trip to Australia in 2018. This is when we had flown to Melbourne, and we took a car and moved our way, drove, you know, well, we eventually made our way to Perth, which is the northwest coast of Australia. But we weren't there. We're not there yet. This is February the 15th, 2018, and we were headed towards a place called Nurupta. Probably not saying that right. But anyways, here's the video. Now here's something you don't see every day. This is a lawn bowling green, and there's a guy out there cutting the grass, and Walter called it a grass Zamboni. Look at the way he just zips right across. I'd like to have one of those things. They look like fun. Look at it, it just glides over the grass, like no effort whatsoever. That is pretty cool. And that's the start of our day, about to leave from Victor Harbor. And we're on our way north of Adelaide to the Barossa Valley. That's where all the wine manufacturers are. Well, I think they're all over Australia, but we're heading up towards there, and we're spending 2 nights there so that we can have some time to explore the wineries. Short trip today. It's only about 250 kilometers. It's going to take us a couple of hours to get there, so no big rush. Okay, so we're on the road to Barossa, but before we get there, we're going to stop in a little German-like town called Handorf and see what it has and what it's all about. We have a pretty easy schedule today because we're not traveling all that far, so we're just taking it easy. And you can see this is the scenery. It's a little different route than the one we took to come into Victor Harbor. Lots of trees, which is good because that one yesterday was deadly boring for sure. Now I can show you here on the map where we've started out from. So there's Victor Harbor, and we're going up the A13. Sorry, it's hard to keep this camera steady. Up to Mount Compass and over to the B34 and up to Handorf, if you can see it up there. See how good the stabilizer in this camera is. So there's Handorf. So that's where we're headed right now, and then later we're going to go north of that to the Barossa Valley. Just some more of the scenery along the road here. Yesterday you saw a lot of flatlands. Well, today it's a little bit more rolling hills. The scenery here in Australia seems to change quite rapidly and quite drastically within hours.
Okay, so this is the little town of Handorf, and it's supposed to be sort of a German-style little place.
Their first German settlement or something.
First German settlement or something like that. So we're going to explore the little town and see what there is to see. Yeah, I would imagine. Look at that car. We're in a little German shop that makes cuckoo clocks of all kinds. Well, there's a little. Oh no, it's Dutch. It's not German.
$3,000 for a clock.
Yeah. Be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Except you never get one home.
No.
And down near the other end of Handorf. So we decided that we should stop and have real coffee and German pastry. So
I don't think it's really German pastry.
well, whatever. We're having it anyways. We're giving it a try. And in this cute little place, not really cheap, $19.50 for 2 coffees and some kind of pastry kind of thing, but pastries are expensive. So anyways, we'll see what these are like.
Breakfasts look huge.
Yeah. Well, if we had known this town was going to be like this and it would take us that long, we could come here and have turkey instead of cold English muffins with peanut butter. Okay, so we have our German pastry, Walter got whatever it is.
Hummingbird cake.
Hummingbird cake, and I got Basting, which is supposedly been warmed as well. So try it first, see how it tastes. We have our cream on the side. Looks like a Devonshire. So, how is it? Yeah, so?
It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it's okay.
Okay, at first, it was a little different. They're not overly sweet. It grows on you. It's actually quite nice. It tastes a lot lighter than it looks. And obviously we hate them, as you can tell, because we're eating them. Yeah, no hate there. And of course we found the fairy garden. So we check it out. Get in, find out what your name means. Looks like it's all little dewies for your garden or whatnot. That kind of thing. Yellow tree. Yeah, not really into little doodads for the garden because we don't really have a garden. Well, we do, but we don't. And it's winter, so it's not going to work for us. And heraldry? Yeah, no. That stuff's fake. Just found this chair on the street here in Handorf, and look what it says. It says, at first I thought it said Ugly Wally, but it says Uncle Wally. And so, it's a Wally chair. It's for Wally. Uncle Wally.
Take a picture too.
Okay, stay there for just a second. Remember what I was saying before? As soon as you pick up the camera, they will come. And there was none of them here when we first got into town, wandering around, and suddenly they're all here. Okay, so what's a German town without a Brewhausen? You have to have a Brewhaus. Which, if you don't know what that means beer garden. And here's some unique artwork. They're called Shaggy Ducks. And there are booted ducks over here. See little boots? Booted ducks. So, we're still in Handorf, and this is, Walter thought we should take a picture of this church, St. Paul's Lutheran Church. But what he was more interested in was stand there, stand over there. He thought it'd be really funny. He took my picture with this sign. And you see what the sign says? It's a crossword for the aged.
No.
Yeah. So, Walter, age it. He thought it'd be funny to take a picture of me standing in front of that. Okay, so now we're on the road from Handorf and we're going up to, and I gotta find it here on the map. Of course, once I find it, I don't know how to say it. It's up here somewhere.
Okay, where do I go?
What? Follow this. Oh.
Straight ahead, I think.
Or can you go straight ahead?
Yeah, I think so.
This is what we're talking about right here. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I guess we're on the right track. Oops. I was showing you the dash. Okay, didn't mean to do that. Okay, back to the map. I'm looking for this place. And it's...
We should have found it on the map.
No, I found it already. It's here. But I'm looking through the viewfinder here on the back, and it's trying to keep it steady. Okay. Finger there. Where's my finger? Alright, there we are. This is where we're headed to. So, we're going from way down here. Handorf. See Handorf? Yeah. So we're following this up here. And we're going to Nerutapa. Again, any of the Aussies out there that watch this video, you will probably need to correct me on how you say this place.
Isn't it?
Neruta? Neruta? I don't know. But anyways, that's where we're headed for. And it's not going to take us long to get there because right now it's 11:47, and according to the GPS, it's 12:45 we'll be there. So then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do in the meantime.
So that takes me to what's been going on this past week. Well, ongoing saga of Walter's tooth. You may have remembered that a week ago he had an appointment to go to the dentist to have a tooth pulled, and when the dentist pulled the tooth, it broke off. And so he had to go to a dental surgeon. He's had the consultation with the dental surgeon. The dental surgeon says, yep, he can take that out. So Walter goes, I think on Wednesday to have that procedure done. One little complication. The tooth he's having pulled is close to his nasal cavity, and it could cause a hole in his nasal cavity. And if that happens, that has to be sutured up. And I guess you got to be really careful when you blow your nose until that heals. So this is not good. Walter is not looking forward to this. But he's a trooper, and off he goes. I don't know, me, I'd be a basket case right now with that. I'm a basket case enough because later this week, I have to go to the dentist for a cleaning. And I have another problem that I need to have the dentist look at, and that's my jaw cracks. Back in here. It's kind of like my jaw is disjointed, although it's not. It doesn't hurt or anything. But depending on which way I place my jaw, it cracks. So I don't know what that's all about. That just started to happen a month ago. Just there it was. So I'm going to have to consult with the dentist about that and see what he says. And I'm not looking forward to that. And I'm not looking forward to my cleaning because it doesn't matter what you do. I really look after my teeth because my parents had bad teeth. And I do not want to be my parents. And I floss after every time I brush. And I brush a minimum of 3 times a day. So I floss, very thoroughly floss 3 times a day. And every time I go in, the little torture woman, the technician, gets in there with her little picks and things, giggles a little bit, and goes to town. It's like she's digging for buried treasure. And she always has words of wisdom. The last time was, well, when you're flossing, make sure you're scraping. Get in there and scrape. Okay. So I've changed my method for flossing. I get in there and I scrape, like she says. Sounds kind of gross, doesn't it? So we'll see. But you want to know something? It won't make any difference. Because it never does. They keep changing the rules. Every time you go in, they've got something different to do. And I just think in order to be a dental hygienist, you have to be someone that has a little bit of a sadistic attitude. I think you really enjoy causing pain and grief for people. I think dentists in general are like that. I do not like dentists. I don't. Also, I don't like the price. Even though I do have some insurance on it that only pays 85% of it. And it's a good thing we have that because of what Walter has to go through. Yeah. I should have been a dentist because they make buckets of money. Yes, they do. And yeah. They got to pay for equipment. They have to pay for staff and all that kind of stuff. Nah, they're still doing well. Very well. Dentists, doctors, lawyers, professions to be in if you want to make money. Yeah. Well, possibly politicians. But anyways, back to Walter. So he has this week. And then in June, he goes to another specialist to have a root canal on a different tooth. Yeah. At that point, you just need to knock me out for all of this. But anyways, yeah, that's something to look forward to, isn't it, this week? Not. So as I already mentioned, this was the long weekend here, and we had something that was very scary. Some of you will laugh, and you'll go, that was nothing. But we had, or experienced as close as we've ever experienced in our lives, a tornado. So here's the scenario. First of all, we get this Amber Alert. Now, as soon as the Amber Alert went off on my phone, I figured, oh yeah, some disgruntled parent who doesn't have custody of a child has stolen a child for the long weekend. Because that's usually what these Amber Alerts are all about, missing children, right? No, this one was a weather Amber Alert. Haven't seen one of those. Saying severe thunderstorms and rain were about to hit our area. If you're outside, take cover. That always makes you feel good, and you promptly ignore it. Because weather people, they live for the weather. You know, how many times have we heard on newscasts, it's the snowstorm of the century. It's coming in the middle of the night. You're going to wake up to a house buried under 10 feet of snow. And then there's nothing, one flake, poof, kind of a thing. Well, that's kind of how we looked at this. So Walter went out to cut the grass, and I went down underneath our deck where we have our patio area to clean it up. Need it, get the winter dust and everything off everything's and vacuum the carpet that's out there and get the chair cushions out and all that kind of stuff. So I'm out there working away, and the sky is getting very dark, and the wind is coming up, and I hear rumbling of thunder in the distance. I carry on with what I'm doing. But then suddenly, it just got really dark, and I heard this noise. It sounded like a train. We don't have a train track near us. We do have traffic, but it's off in the distance and not usually this loud. And then suddenly something clicked in my brain. I had heard that when a tornado's coming, you will hear something that sounds like a large freight train. And I went, oh my God. I immediately stopped what I was doing, went back into the house, battened down the hatches, and the rain was just pouring. Like, this was, if you were standing outside in it, you would have drowned. That's how much rain was coming down. And lightning and this roaring noise and thunder and the whole bit. Went to see where Walter was. Well, he had quickly ran into the garage and was standing there watching all of this. And as he's watching it, the wind had come up, and he's watching the shingles on the house across the street from us being ripped off. It wasn't all of the shingles. It was only a small patch, and I'll show you a picture here of what I'm talking about. Here we go. So you can see this is the house right directly across the street from us, and those shingles were all lifting up. Walter saw all of them just kind of lifted up, he said, and came down, and then those ones got ripped off. You can see how much water is happening there. Unfortunately, we did not take video of the event because this hit us so suddenly, and it didn't last long. But it was scary. It was very scary, because then you go, like, we don't have tornadoes here. Never have, really. And we're not seeing a funnel cloud, but so this is what I guess they call a microburst. It went right through our subdivision, and this was not the only house that had shingle damage. Now, fortunately, no one was hurt. Well, that's not true. I'll come to that in a minute. Houses were not blown over, anything like that. And that's what I'm saying. People who live in Tornado Alley in the States and that would think this was nothing. This was like a light sun shower kind of a thing. But for us, never having experienced it, it was scary for those few moments. I mean, you don't know, where do you go? I've heard you're supposed to go to the lowest part of your house, like your basement, and go get into a room that doesn't have any windows. We have a bathroom in our basement. It's an inner room. There are no windows. So I guess that's where we would go and get in the bathtub, which I never understood how that really protects you, because if there's a whole house above you, and if your house blows over, everything comes down on top of you. So I'm not sure how that works. But anyways, that's what I'd heard. But you see, we don't have these things, or didn't. So anyways, it blew over very quickly, and then we assessed the damage. Well, of course, there were several houses in our neighborhood. We took a walk around the neighborhood. Several houses had lost shingles like this. There were several of the larger mature trees that split right down the middle. The wind had split them, and they were laying on the road. Our little tree that I was showing you earlier in the picture, it lost a few branches on that. So we're out there with the neighbors, and we're picking up stuff and whatnot and talking, and people are roaming the street, you know, assessing damage and whatnot. It was a great way to meet our neighbors, even though we've been in this neighborhood for 27 years. Yeah. Can you say antisocial? Meaning us. Anyways, it was almost a jovial mood kind of a thing. Takes a small disaster to bring people together, right? Should have got out a bar cart up and down the street, you know, hey, let's have a party. But anyways, we did hear that up the street, well, other things, one of the neighbors about 4 houses up from us, their fence in their backyard blew over. And somebody else had a wrought iron fence, and it blew over. Must have been kind of unsecured to start with. One lady, though, and this was sad, very sad. She was sitting in their house when the storm came up, and we back onto a forest. And yeah, some of those trees in that need to be cut down because they're dead. Now, in our backyard, the ones by us, we had the people that run that property come and remove several trees a couple of years ago because they were about to go over, and we didn't want them coming over onto our side and hitting our deck or whatever like that. And I had a fight with them to get them to remove them, but they were their trees. It was their problem, and so I did, and they did. So, but this lady obviously had a similar problem. She was sitting in her living room, and a tree came through her window, broke the window, and she got hurt. we didn't know whether she had a broken arm or whatnot. The EMS came. They bandaged her up. I think it was her elbow. Not sure exactly what it did, but they didn't take her off to the hospital or anything like that. So I guess it wasn't broken, you know. It was maybe lacerated from glass or something like that. But this poor lady, not very recently, her husband had just retired. He was 60, and he passed away. He had a brain tumor, and they didn't know about it. And her daughter, her 42-year-old daughter, had a heart attack. She survived it, but apparently they discovered that she had a congenital heart defect or something like that. So the story goes. I'm not sure how accurate these stories are. Getting them from the neighbors who got them from the neighbors, kind of a thing. But yeah, 42, heart attack, right? So this poor lady has just one thing on another, really feel for her. So we continued our walk around the neighborhood, and you could see there was a definite path that this microburst followed. And we were just, thank God, we were lucky. We didn't have any damage, with the exception of a couple of the branches, small branches from the tree that came down. And those branches probably would have come down in a heavy rainstorm anyways, because they probably needed to, right? So, you know, nature pruned the tree for us. But yeah, now that house across the way that I was showing you, this one, that is all fixed now. Within hours, they were able to get somebody, and remember, this is a long weekend here in Canada. They were able to get roofers to come in and fix that all up for them. And I think the roofers were going to do a lot of business that day, because they were just going up and down the neighborhood. People saw them out there and they were coming to say, hey, can you come and fix mine? So I think they were really, really busy. But that's kind of surprising how fast they were able to get somebody to fix the roof. And that's a good thing. But yeah, so that was our excitement on the weekend. Excitement you don't really need. And as I said, it was kind of scary for us because this is something we've never experienced before. So, anyways, that's over with, and I hope we never experience it again. So, what's coming up? Well, advance notice, Craft and Chat. The first Wednesday of next month of June, which we're approaching very quickly, is actually June the 1st. So I thought I'd better get the announcement out there. So the announcement is out there. The Zoom link is in the show notes below. It'll be in all the show notes for all my videos this week. And I'll also be sending out at the tail end of this week a notice to those of you that are on my mailing list for Craft and Chat. And if you want to be on the mailing list too, just drop me a line saying that you want to be on the mailing list, and I will add you to it. But meantime, the link is always in the show notes as well. Okay. I think that's it for today. Idiot Quilter episode will go out tomorrow. There will not be an interview going up this week, but I do have an interview with a fascinating person from New Zealand at the end of the week scheduled, so there will be an interview next week. But in the meantime, I'll fill in the gap with one of my Idiot Quilter Presents musings. I don't know whether you enjoy those or not. But anyways, okay. So I hope you have a good week. I hope the weather's great for you. I hope you're not having any little natural disasters anywhere. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.